Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and you made it to another mini-sode in our second year of being a anime podcast that every 2 weeks watches an anime and then comes together to talk about it. But instead, we're doing a mini-sode off the top of our head like we always do every other week. Catch all that? All right, good. To do today's random topic that, where do they come from? Not the bottom of the barrel. I need the help of my co-host. First off, we have the Wilhelm to my scream, Jeremy. What you been up to?
I do that scream. I would still do that right now. I have been playing PoE a lot and actually playing on my own, and I got a really cool lightning character build, but mainly I'm just waiting for XCOM 2 War of the Chosen because it's ready to go.
It should be out by now, right?
It should be.
But sometimes it takes a while to download. I guess.
Yeah, I gotta wait for it to make its way through the airwaves to my house. So,
you said you were working with clay. You building something?
Yeah. So I've messed with sculpting quite a bit in the past, just like trying to make my own little miniatures.
Movies.
How did you know? No, I always wanted to be able to make like little 28 millimeter or 15 millimeter minis, and I've never had the skill for it, or the technique developed. So I've been fiddling around with some larger size
on the hobby desk.
Sculpts. Yes. Finally get to do some of my hobbies. One day you'll actually see what I've been working on, but not on a podcast.
So we also have another famous sound effect that I can think of to my other famous sound effect, Jason. Guys, I don't know sound effects. Wilhelm Scream's the only one I know.
It's
Goofy Cry. You can be whatever you want to be. How are you, Jason?
I've never been offended from being such an afterthought you couldn't think of it.
I even Googled it for like 5 whole seconds.
What about the Donald Duck exasperated noise?
I guess.
That could work.
Jason,
I'm helping.
Sure.
Anyways. No, I've also been pounding away at Path of Exile. But also, one of my favorite early access games that I'm looking forward to is Oxygen Not Included. Now, if I'm not sure if either of you like resource management.
Absolutely. No, I do not.
Oh, okay.
We've had this discussion. I have to wear a shirt.
So the game is basically a fight against entropy. It's absolutely amazing. It reminds me a lot of
RimWorld?
What? Yes.
Sure.
Yes. It's basically a 2D like side. Well, I guess RimWorld's kind of 2D, but it's a side. You're stuck in a asteroid. You spawn in the middle of an asteroid, and then you have to dig around for resources. But then you have to worry about disease, food, oxygen, different gases, water.
God, you must have just loved Farmville, didn't you?
Actually, I didn't find much joy out of it. There's no stakes. Like in this, your stakes are everyone dies. In Farmville, it's like I didn't grow anything. Well, yeah.
Okay. That's the story, isn't it? Right? Like if you have whether it's XCOM or whether it's Dwarf Fortress or RimWorld or Oxygen Not Included, you get an awesome story about what happened with those characters.
Yes,
that's
and
cool.
So the newest one they just released is the only reason I'm bringing it up is it's disease and germs, and you have to manage. Like when your guys go to the bathroom, if you don't have a place for them to wash their hands, they come out just covered in germs. And I'm not sure if you've ever seen the Invader Zim episode where he gets goggles where he can see germs, but it's literally just like that. and all of a sudden they'll infect like the machines they're working on, or they'll go lay in their bed and they'll infect the bed, and then other will start getting sick, and everyone's sickness level will start going down. So you have to disinfect everything. It adds just another layer. But anyways, I love it.
That's awesome. There's a I don't know
sorry.
if it's I don't know if it's Everybody Loves Raymond or if it's King of Queens, but one of them has an episode where they get a black light and they get to see like where all the germs are, and eventually they figure out the root cause of the germs. God, it was so good. Great episode.
That's good stuff.
Hey, Troy, what have you been doing?
What have you been up to?
Well, besides watching the staple animes, I always watched. I've actually been keeping up with Boruto, which has gotten a little bit better since Sasuke showed up and almost murdered his daughter because he didn't recognize her. We thought Naruto was a bad dad. Dragon Ball Super still doing their big tournament thing.
That will never end.
They're literally okay. It's been like 10 episodes, and they're like 5 minutes have gone by. They're literally calling out how many minutes have passed. And there's been YouTube supercuts of people taking all the different scenes and finding a way to cram them together in a 5-minute sequence to be like, oh yeah, what we're seeing is multiple things happening at the same time. So like we're watching this scene and then we go over to this scene, but that scene had already happened, and we're just like, and that's how, but it never quite fits because Dragon Ball does actually not care about time. Which is why it seems so crazy to me that they did a tournament where they specifically called out a time limit. And I'm like, what are you doing? You never stick to time limit.
Yep.
Yeah, and at the end of every episode, they're like, and a whole 30 seconds have gone by. You're like, you just showed me a 20-minute episode. Anyway, and then, of course, My Hero Academia, which had a filler episode, their first filler episode, but it was about Sue. And so I was a happy frog boy.
So is certain corners of the internet.
But then I also played the new Call of Duty multiplayer beta for World War II. Congratulations, Internet. You got your boots on the ground. Now everybody's slow and it's boring.
You haven't given us a Alien Isolation update in quite some time. Have you not played that?
I have not. I watched Alien, the movie Covenant, which was much better than Prometheus, but yeah, I've been needing to play that.
Yes.
Haven't quit, just haven't.
I need you to play more of that.
I will. Let's go on to our mini-sode topic. It probably will be a bit of a shorter topic, which is why this intro was so long. We're just killing time, guys. It's fine.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you doing?
Don't give away our secrets.
What have you been playing? Just talk. I can hear you. Right?
Uh-huh. What is this? Dora the Explorer? Come on.
Oh,
okay. So this mini-sode topic was picked by Jeremy, and he wanted to go into sound effects and music in anime and what that means to us and how important it is and call out. So,
hey, listen!
Is what I called the episode. And thank you for nailing that, by the way. He practiced that.
I saw the title of it, and I was like, I have to say something.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great.
Just for you.
Jeremy, why don't you go ahead and explain it a little bit better if I missed anything?
No, you hit it pretty spot on. I know that we've actually talked a little bit about what we wanted to do now that it's been a year, what kind of changes we might want to make. And one of the things is, pointing out what we think of soundtracks and sound effects, anything really in regards to audio that makes a difference with the anime for us. And I rarely notice it. So it got me to thinking maybe we should talk a little bit about sound effects and what we're looking for, what we think of, what makes a good soundtrack, what makes a good sound effect for an anime. More along the lines of, do any stand out? Like, what are your high points or your low points if you have any?
Well, why don't you go and start us off? How much does the music and the sound effects matter to you, and why?
So if they're really good, then I'll notice they matter. But if they're anywhere from good to pretty bad, I don't think it's going to really lower my value of the anime that much. Maybe if I was to actually go back through and compare ratings I've given and then specifically listen with an ear toward this question, I might find some kind of correlation to a more negative score. But off the top of my head, I would never be able to say that it's just the soundtrack or in some way the audio that made me lower an anime Baka score by a point.
Mhm.
So really, it doesn't matter that much. Most of the time, what I actually discovered is there will be a song that I stumble across, and that song is related to an anime, and I had no idea. And I will want to get the soundtrack for the anime just because that song was so good. And then I will keep listening to that soundtrack until I love everything that's on the soundtrack. And the whole anime's soundtrack is great now, and there's an audio memory attached to it. And suddenly the anime is better because of that experience when I watch it. So, I don't know. It's a really weird thing.
How about you, Jason?
Intro and outro are irrelevant to how I feel about an anime.
Strongly disagree.
Troy's out there dancing with his son.
Right. Because I'm such a stickler for character development and storytelling and plot devices. What you do in the intro and outro, I'm most likely going to skip after watching it one or two times. So they do not matter. Now, as far as music or sounds that have contributed to an anime that just made it that much better, ReZero. The sounds and soundtracks and the way they were able to make it believable just by audio during the episodes was so memorable, especially when he would just get murdered from behind by something and it was completely unexpected and it was just a visceral sound. I can still remember some of those scenes, especially when Rem caught him out in the hallway at night. I can still hear those sounds in my head of the chain and just the ripping through his arm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say, Dimension W, Rage of Bahamut, and My Hero Academia, all three of their intros are still songs that I will listen to today just because they were so good. So I'd like to call those out. Specifically, Rage of Bahamut. The band, SIM, they're fantastic. They have their entire album is amazing, and nobody in America is picking them up, and I don't know why. They've got like this really great, again, visceral sound of like rock, but like ska, but like electronic, but yeah, it's like, and you never know what's coming next, and it like really keeps you on the edge of your seat. I really like
I'm gonna have to check them out now. Yeah, that. I hope I remember that.
I'll send you one of their more popular songs later.
So for me, sound and sound effects are never something I notice unless they're wrong or unless they're missing or they're really, really good. But they are actually really important to me. I get really emotional at certain scenes, like when the music swells up and the action scene's going. I feel that rise up, and the music is actually a big part of that. And I've really learned that lately because, and I know I talk about it all the time, My Hero Academia, You Say Run, when
goes with everything.
It goes with everything. But when All Might's Punching Nomu, but I didn't notice that song the first time we watched that. I did feel that surge of adrenaline that song gives you, and it's that song more than that scene. I've come to realize, because if you go on YouTube and Google You Say Run Goes With Anything, they put it over other movie finales, other climax scenes, and it makes those scenes better because that music is so darn good. And it made me kind of realize Naruto and Bleach did it really well too. I remember Bleach, whenever Ichigo would swoop in to save the day, at the last minute, that song Number One, now you feel like number one, it would start playing with the guitar riffs, and it's like, it was always so perfect. And Naruto has like this chant mantra thing that starts pumping through the music every time he starts a battle, that always get me pumped up. And so yeah, I've realized, especially for action scenes that bring that emotion on, that music is a key thing. As for sound effects, probably less so, but anytime like a bone snaps or someone gets sliced, you hear that ripping sound that is in every anime. Every anime is the same sound effect, but it's still like visceral, and you're like, oh, the bone snapped. Oh, I heard that all the way from over here.
Yep.
Good. It's all good stuff.
So specifically, you say run over Saitama versus Cyborg. How I can't remember his name. Makes that fight into like a fairly decent battle / comedy fight to like epic, and it's really weird how that can happen. Also, I wanted to point out, kind of weird. Troy gets emotional over things.
What can I do? Yeah, and honestly, the music is the heart of that emotion for those scenes. I think for sure.
I can agree, especially when it comes to emotive scenes. There's a couple of songs in particular that have either of you guys seen Guilty Crown?
No.
Okay. Guilty Crown, especially the first season, is really good. I really enjoyed it. And it's very the emotion I associate with it.
Lost you. It's very
sad is probably the emotion that I would associate with it most. There's a few songs that I still have on my MP3 player that I just keep listening to because of that anime. And I was introduced in that case to them through the anime. And it was a very, very emotional song. One of them, it's pronounced, I think, Euterpe, and it's Euterpe. For anybody who wants to look it up, I don't even think you necessarily have to have the context. The song itself is just so well done that it's very emotional. Another one from that is Crone. Both of those are very emotional songs from Guilty Crown. But just about anything on that soundtrack is really good.
One of my favorite things that an anime does sometimes is when they have this really emotional but kind of catchy ending song, right? And you know, the anime ends and it sweeps up. It's like, oh, this is a pretty good song. And then you come to like the final episode or the semi-final episode, but almost always the final battle, and that song kicks in instead of the ending credits over the battle, and I'm like, oh, I've been with you all season. Let's do this. It's such a nice way of exemplifying, like, this is the final moment, and that song we've been playing, this is that moment we wanted you to feel.
An emotional climax.
As far as my favorite, as far as music, anime, and songs, have you guys ever heard of Beck Mongolian Chop Squad?
No.
Fantastic soundtrack. It is an anime that's literally about a boy who, it's Jukebox Hero, the anime guy who hears a rock band in a dirty club one night and falls in love, teaches himself to play guitar, learns to play guitar, gets so good he ends up joining the band, and it's about the trials and tribulations of a band getting good. It's not an action anime. It's really more slice of life. It's probably not your guys' thing, but they have so many great songs throughout that they you know, the band records themselves. The intro theme is one of the catchiest ones I've ever heard. Hit in America is so catchy. And at the end, there's this big finale where they do a cover of a Beatles song and then sing their own song after it. The music was so good, and that anime made me want to play guitar, and I can't. I am untalented from head to toe. All my wife, all my children, super music talent everywhere around me. I can't even figure out what a chord is. I'm awful. But
you're like, how did I pass off that to you?
I'm pretty sure my music teacher gave me a passing grade because he felt sorry for me at one point. Like, oh, he is trying so hard, but that is not a thing. But yeah, that anime, the songs are so good throughout it, especially the more guitar heavy ones, the more singing. They have a couple almost Linkin Parky rap rock mixes that aren't bad, but you know, when they sing the rock songs, they're so good. That would be that's probably the most I can think of for music. It's not something that stands out a ton in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But can't have a good anime without it.
Yeah. The one of the other ones that I would definitely recommend is the Standalone Complex soundtrack. And I think there's been 4 different soundtracks for that, but I only got the first one years and years ago. And oh man, there's some really, really good songs in there.
You're right. I remember watching that and having good music in the background for sure.
If they're remaking the Vision of Escaflowne or Escaflowne, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And there is a particular song in that called Sora. I've also heard it called Lullaby, Sora's Lullaby.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is another one. It's very much like Euterpe. It's almost waltzy, and it's super, super, super relaxing and calming. I don't know what it is about those particular songs, but they always get me, and I wind up adding them in particular, just listening to them over and over again. So, there's a few that I absolutely love.
Yeah, sure. I definitely have my playlist, especially of intros and outros. But there are a few from just the middle of songs in the background or songs the characters will sing. Usually musical animes aren't totally my jam. Like K-On! And stuff, I don't watch those. Back Mongolian Chop Squad was a very specific case just because I like the music so much.
Actually,
go ahead.
Oh, it's kind of funny because a little while back, I kept finding all these anime intros like sung in English version.
Yeah, actually, I like those on YouTube a lot.
Well, I started sending them to you guys over our chat, and I was just like, "Hey, dude, look at this so much!" And you're just like, "Stop sending these. You're literally sending my playlist."
Like, hold on, let me give you the actual hits. Here you go. You need to know this artist and this artist, and
I thought I was like so original, and like I was like, "Guys, you have to see this." And Troy's just like, "You were so bugged."
To be fair, when I showed them to my teenage daughters, that was the same reaction I got. Dad, you don't even know the good artists. Sorry. Attack on Titan in English. I love the English version. Just because the words are so haunting.
That also goes with everything.
Yes, that is the perfect intro of everything.
Right. Any intro. Family Matters, SpongeBob.
Oh, dude,
Gravity Falls.
Anime. Oh yeah.
Okay, so I think we're gonna wrap it up there. If you have any thoughts on the music, any recommendations for us to listen to, I'm always looking to expand my playlist with anime songs, especially, and I'm sure these guys wouldn't mind either. So you can send us tweets on our Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can send us an email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com. Or you can leave us a comment wherever you found this podcast, and it'll get back to us, and we will respond. Now, we are currently watching Erased because we had to finally, eventually, get to it.
Add that.
So I hope you are enjoying that. I will, again, just in case you're about to start it, has very mature themes, murder, child abuse. So, just be aware of that before you go into it. Make sure it's age appropriate for those watching. Thank you. And other than that, we will talk about that one next week. Guys, I think it's time to say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
I was made to hit in America. Sayonara.